Where did the tendency, the practice of not speaking our truth come from? I think it comes from a few places. The first place is our families. Our families are usually the first people to kind of train this. And not because they want to be mean, but I think it comes from them like wanting to keep us safe. It comes from their own upbringing. They were treated like this too by their parents. And so this is what they practice, right? Especially being immigrants, a lot of our parents were just trying to survive, and it's a lot easier for them to be in survival mode, to just have their kids like not really challenge what they're saying. Welcome to Tradition Breakers. I'm Mary Moses, former corporate executive turned creative entrepreneur, and each episode I bring you an inspiring person or message to help more of us in the AAPI community break free from restrictive traditions that are preventing us from going after the life that we truly desire. Let's dive in. You're running ads, you're sending emails, you're working with influencers, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, but the conversions still aren't there. Here's the truth. Your problem isn't marketing, it's the lack of someone leading it. I'm Mary, fractional CMO for multi-unit restaurants, cafes, spas, and clinics. I helped scale a national restaurant brand past 30 locations, launched in major cities like LA, New York, and San Francisco, and grew loyalty programs to over 500,000 members. A growing brand like yours doesn't need the overhead of a full-time CMO. But what you do need is a leader making sure your marketing is actually growing your business. If you're tired of fragmented marketing that leads to inconsistent and poor results, let's talk so we can change that. Visit tastydirectives.com/contact to schedule a call. That's tastydirectives.com/contact. Can't wait to talk to you. Hey, Tradition Breakers, welcome back. Today, it's just me. It's going to be a solo episode because I want to talk to you about an issue that is very important and is very prevalent in our culture. And it's something that I myself have struggled and experienced and continue to work on to this day, which is voicing my truth, not stifling my voice, but expressing what I think, how I feel, and what I believe. And I've talked to enough people in our community, despite how big it is, the Asian American Pacific Islander community. I've talked to enough people to know that I'm not the only one who struggles with this or who have struggled with this. And I think it's important to talk about this in order for us to work on it, in order for us to start understanding why this is happening so that we can heal and actually begin to step into owning our truth and speaking our truth. Why is that important? Because we need to do that in order to really fully live our lives the way we want, and in order for us to truly receive all the light that God, the creator, the universe, whatever type of spirituality you subscribe to, in order for us to receive all the light, all the abundance, all the blessings. Because if we're not speaking our truth, if we're not being honest about what we want, then how are we going to get it? It doesn't make sense. So we got to get on this, you guys. We have to get on this. So before I go on, I just want to state the obvious. I know that speaking your truth isn't something that all of us in our community is challenged with. Like some people have no problem doing this, and that's totally fine. This episode probably isn't for you, and that's totally okay. But I've just talked to so many people. I've read a lot of data that has showed me that this is an actual prevalent issue that needs to be talked about. Okay. So I'm not saying it affects everyone, but it affects enough people. So let's dive in. Let's elaborate more on why not speaking your truth and not owning your voice is costing us our life, like literally costing us our life. Okay. I'm going to share some statistics with you. The National Alliance on Mental Illness says that suicide is the leading cause of death for Asian American young adults, ages 15 to 24. They're the only racial group in this age bracket where suicide causes more deaths than accidents or cancer. The CDC reports that US born Asian American women, The last one was CDC. This one is the American Psychological Association. US born Asian American women have higher rates of suicidal thoughts than almost any other demographic group in the country, often attributed to the double bind of navigating two conflicting cultures and gender expectations. And then this one is from the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Despite the stereotype of success from the model minority myth, Asian Americans are 3 times less likely to seek mental help than their white counterparts. So that's what I mean about it's costing us our life. Like it literally is costing us our life because people are choosing to end their life because of this. Okay. Because they do not have the tools or they just didn't know how to basically ask even for help. Not speaking up or being quiet, holding your tongue for the good of the group, there's a cost. And the cost is literally lives. So for me, what I realized recently is if I do not have agency over my voice, how can I have agency over anything? If I'm stifling my own voice, aren't I going to let other people stifle my voice too? You know what I mean? So it's so important for us to talk about this. So that's what I mean about it's costing us our life. And then what do I mean by it's costing us our light? Our light is the abundance, the blessings, the money, the wealth, the health, right? Those are forms of light from God, from the creator, from the universe, however it is that you want to call the giver of light. And we are blocking the light when we do not want to speak our truth. Okay. Because part of our truth is what do we want to do with our lives? Part of our truth is maybe wanting to go on vacation. Part of our truth is maybe wanting to tell our parents that we want to do something different from what they expected from us. Part of our truth is wanting to quit our jobs and do something completely different. I don't know, right? Our truths are different. My truth is different from yours. But what I do know is when we do not voice our truth to ourselves and to the people who need to hear it, we are blocking all the blessings that are going to come from that truth. So you're missing out on so much goodness in your life by not speaking your truth. Okay. And I'm not saying this as a person who's mastered it. I was going to say girl, but I know not everyone listening to this is a girl. But girl, if you know what I am still having to work through, even to talk about this right now, I was feeling all sorts of things like, is this going to be helpful? No, am I just going to bring everybody down? But the podcast is called Tradition Breakers, right? And it's about being brave, but it's about not following what is expected of you just because it's expected of you. We want to follow things that actually work for the life that we want. And so for me, this is proof that it's not working, right? Stifling our voices, shrinking ourselves is not work. So that's what I mean by it's costing us our life, it's costing us our light. Now let's talk about where this might be coming from. Where did the tendency, the practice of not speaking our truth come from? I think it comes from a few places. The first place is our families. Our families are usually the first people to kind of train this. And not because they want to be mean, but I think it comes from them like wanting to keep us safe. It comes from their own upbringing. They were treated like this too by their parents. And so this is what they practice, right? Especially being immigrants. A lot of our parents were just trying to survive. And it's a lot easier for them to be in survival mode, to just have their kids like not really challenge what they're saying. And so I understand why my parents did it. However, I, as an adult now, have the choice to whether to keep doing that or not, right? To keep doing that to myself and to keep doing that to my kids because I have 2 kids, so family is the first step, right? Like family wants you to go into nursing or a doctor, a lawyer, right? Again, it comes from a place of them wanting to keep you safe, but at what cost? And I have some more statistics for you about how destructive that is, shrinking your voice. Okay, in the family realm, studies show that Asian Americans are more likely to experience emotional distress through physical symptoms like headaches and fatigue. Okay, so If you have these feelings and somebody hurt you in our family, and it doesn't have to be huge, but if you keep harboring that inside and not really speaking up for yourself, your body doesn't forget that. It manifests into something that's physical, like headaches. For some people, it's acne. For some people, it's back pain. So, really important to just start practicing utilizing our voices. Here's another one. This is from the Pew Research Center. In surveys regarding family conflict, academic and career expectations are consistently cited as the number one source of stress and conflict for second generation Asian families. All I'm saying is the data is there, you guys. So that's family. Another place that it comes from is culture, American culture, Asian American culture, right? Corporate culture. Okay. So, you've all heard the bamboo ceiling, model minority myth, right? Shrinking for the good of the whole. But shrinking doesn't just hurt our hearts, it hurts our ability to lead. The data shows that while Asian Americans are hired for their hard work, they are often silenced when it comes to power and leadership. And here's what I mean. The Harvard Business Review says that Asian Americans are the least likely racial group to be promoted from individual contributor roles to management and executive levels. Okay, here's another one. Ascent Foundation analysis of EEOC data. While Asian Americans make up roughly 13% of the professional workforce, they hold less than 6% of executive positions. The silence and head down, work hard mentality often excludes them from the rooms where decisions are made. And that is something that I was taught. Work hard, don't draw attention to yourself, keep your head down. That doesn't work. If you want to become that leader, especially in corporate America, like you have to be able to speak up. You have to be able to assert yourself. You have to be the one to tell your story and to advocate for yourself. Nobody else can. And I've experienced this too. I've experienced taking a job and not really advocating for a higher salary. I didn't know how, I wasn't taught. And this is what I want to tell you guys. This isn't your fault. Like, this wasn't something that we learned. Rewind again, right? Family, a lot of our families were the first ones to kind of train us to be not accepting of our truth and to not know how to express our truth. So, how could we just magically know how to do that when we step into our careers? It's impossible, right? So, this is an example of us of not speaking up costing us our light. Okay. It's in the form of your career advancements, your money, right? You want to make that money, especially if you deserve it. Okay. And then last area or source of where we learn to not, own our truth and speak our truth are the gender roles. US born Asian American women have higher rates of suicidal thoughts than almost any other demographic group in the country. I didn't know that. Often attributed to the double bind of navigating two conflicting cultures and gender expectations. So I'm not saying that women have it harder than men. That's not what I'm saying. It's not a competition, you guys. We're just trying to learn here, but there is, I guess, like layers, right? Intersectionalities of gender roles and then also the cultural expectations. It's unique. It's a unique experience that Asian American women, not the men, face. And this is why like a lot of Asian American women, they are seen as like quiet. They're expected to be like submissive, subservient, cooperative, obedient, right? Not just in their family life, but also in the workforce. And so it makes it harder for like our colleagues, the leaders in organizations to sometimes take us Asian American women seriously. There's a cute Asian girl, especially if you're short. I'm also short. So I would get that a lot. It is exhausting sometimes. I'm not saying that any of this is easy, you guys. I'm not saying that using our voices, stepping into our truth is easy. It's going to also be challenging, but isn't it also challenging to not speak up for yourself? The studies are telling us that we are suffering from not doing it. So the question is, which way would you rather suffer, right? You can suffer quietly or you can suffer while you are advocating for yourself. For me, I have chosen to take on the challenge, to do the work up front, right? so that I don't have to experience the slow suffering over time. It's kind of a slow death, too, honestly. And I'm not judging anyone for their choices either. This is all up to you. Everyone has a specific path, a specific journey that they have to go through. My intention for putting this out there is to show that if you're feeling this way, if you're experiencing this, it's not all in your head, it's real. And there's a reason why. There are real reasons why. And it is not because you're weak. It's not because you're dumb. It's not because, people are better than you. It's just, it has been ingrained in our psyche. It has been encoded onto us. So, my hope for this is that it'll inspire more of us to speak up and to be kind to ourselves, to be patient with ourselves in the way we choose to speak our truth. Because most likely you're not going to be perfect at it right away, right? Like when you start working out, you're not going to lift 200 pounds when you start working out. You have to build it, it's a muscle. So be kind to yourself, find support, right? But the first thing you can do is first start with you, have a dialogue with you, be honest with you, pray. Like I have seriously learned so much about myself once I started praying. And you don't need to be religious to pray. You don't have to belong to a religion to pray. I don't belong to a religion. I grew up Catholic, but I don't consider myself Catholic. But prayer connects you to the light and it connects you to who you truly are. And God honestly just wants to give you all the light he can, she can, they can, right? Doesn't really matter. God is everything. So start with you, be kind to yourself, find other people, right, that you can practice this with, whether it's your husband, your wife, your therapist, your friend, and also expect people to not fully understand you, and that's okay. That's totally fine. Not everyone is going to understand what you're saying and what your truth is. But that's not the point. The point is for you to live your truth and to speak your truth no matter what anybody else says. And again, that does not mean to be disrespectful and to be unkind and rude. There is a difference. Okay. Anyway, I think I'm going to end there. Thank you for listening, and I will see you all next week. Next week, we're going to go back to our usual structure of the podcast where I am going to be talking to a guest. But I think I'm going to also continue doing this. What I'm thinking is doing one solo cast a month to kind of talk about something that I am feeling in the ether that is topical, that is relevant, timely, culturally, and basically anything that, I think that can help our community, inspire our community to live the life that we truly want, to break free from the limitations that are preventing us from doing that. So if you have any ideas, if there's anything that you want to learn, if there's any guests that you want me to interview and talk to, please make sure that you do let me know. Let me know in the comments. If you are enjoying this podcast, I would highly recommend that you subscribe and you rate it and you review it. I would love that. I would appreciate that so much. And until then, I will just see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this episode, consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a rating and review. Tradition Breakers is produced by Tasty Sounds, and the theme music is by DJ Professor Moses.